Hello, everybody. I'm Captain Mamgen. Wish you all a very happy and prosperous new year. Last I talked to you about was longitude and difference in longitudes. Today, let's start off with a fresh topic of latitudes and difference in latitudes. This we already talked about north, south, 90 degrees to the left, west, 90 degrees to the right is east. Equator, great circle, plane is perpendicular to the axis. And when we discussed about great circle, we said that there is only one great circle possible whose plane will be perpendicular to the axis. So, though we can draw any number of great circles between two points which are on the extreme ends of a sphere, but only one circle would be perpendicular to the axis, and that is the equator. Now, being perpendicular, that means it's 90 degrees, and 90 degrees to the poles is east and west. So that means the equator should be running east and west. It divides the earth into two equal halves. That's your north hemisphere and southern hemisphere. 0 degrees latitude, equator is taken as 0 degrees latitude, which is the reference for measurement of our latitudes, north or south. And other imaginary circles which we draw, small circles, which we draw parallel to the equator, they are called parallel of latitudes or simply latitudes. And here I am just showing you the plane of those small circles here. So it divides it into two equal halves of northern and southern hemisphere. All other great circles, small circles, which we draw parallel to the equator, they are called parallel of latitude, simply latitudes. And being parallel to the equator, they will also be running east and west. I am emphasizing this point because this is going to be important when we talk about plane and parallel sailing. Equator is taken as the reference 0 degrees latitude to measure our latitudes north and south of the equator. So all these parallel small circles parallel of latitudes north or south depending upon north or south of the equator. As I said, being parallel should be running east and west. Now let us define latitude. We have the small circle LL1 with center C and A through which this parallel latitude is passing. Small circle is passing through it. How do we define latitude? Latitude is the angle at the center of the earth or arc of the meridian. The arc of the meridian here contained between the equator and the parallel of latitude passing through that particular place. Here I have taken it as 50 degrees here. So latitude is angle at the center or arc of the equator contained between equator and the parallel latitude passing through that particular place. Here I have taken it as 50 degrees north. And this parallel of latitude would be called 50 degrees north because all meridians would be making the same angle here at the center. This is what I'm just trying to show you to you, that if there was a meridian, all the meridians would be making similar arc or same arc, same angle at the center of the earth. So all the points on LL1 would be having the same latitude as 50 degrees north. Now let us take another point B, which is here I have shown you as on the southern hemisphere, and L1, L2 passing a small circle or parallel latitude passing through B, and we define it as the angle at the center or arc of the meridian here contained between the equator and the parallel passing through that particular point. B here. I've taken it as 70 degrees here, and all the points on this parallel of 70 degrees would be having the same latitude 70 degrees south, which I'm just trying to show you here with this meridian and this arc. This arc will be the same between these two parallel of latitude, and it will form the same angle at the center of the Earth. So all points on L1, L2 will be having the same latitude of 70 degrees south. Now, this is again out of my hat, nowhere there in your books. I just said we defined it as angle at the center or arc of the meridian. If somebody is at A, that is at equator, there is no angle, no arc being formed. So latitude is 0. No arc, no nothing, 0. If somebody is at north, yeah. So we already said that this is equator is 90 degrees to the axis here. So angle formed here will be 90. And the meridian is 180, as we have already defined it as a semicircle. And equator divides it into two equal halves, north and south. So this must be 90. So arc and angle what is formed is 90 degrees. So your latitude becomes 90 degrees at north. And some other intermediate points, again as I said, angle at the center or arc 60 degrees north. Being north of the equator, it is latitude is 60 degrees north. And all points on this parallel latitude will have the same latitude of 60 degrees north. Now we just define it as arc of the meridian. And I just said that meridian is what? Basically a semi-great circle, and circle is 360. Semi-great circle would be 180. So maximum latitude what you can have is 180 degrees. And then we said that it is contained between equator. And equator is dividing the earth into two equal halves, north and south. That means it must be dividing the meridian also into two equal halves of 90 degrees. So you have maximum long latitudes north or south, 90 degrees north, 90 degrees south. And to sum it up, between equator and parallel latitude passing through that particular place. So as I said that equator runs east and west because east and west is 90 degrees and 90 degrees, and this is perpendicular to the axis. So all the parallels also latitude, because they are parallel to the equator, will be also running east and west. Now 2 points can be east or west, due east or west of each other, only if they are on the same parallel of latitude. This I'm repeating on and off is basically it is going to be important for us when we start solving problems on parallel sailing. So we should know when a point is north of us or south of us or east of us or west of us. So north and south only possible when they are on the same meridian. East and west only possible when they are on the same latitude. I've taken a place A on a parallel of latitude LL1, and we define it as the angle at the center of the earth here, or arc of the equator, and I've taken it as 50 degrees north. Taking another point B on parallel latitude L1, L2, again north of the equator, so north latitude, and defined as the angle at the center or arc of the equator. The angle at the center or arc of the equator, I've taken it as a 30 degrees value. And being north of the equator, the latitude of B is 30 degrees north. Difference in latitude. What is difference in latitude? Difference in latitude is the arc of the meridian or angle at the center contained between the two parallels. So now one parallel is here, another parallel is here. So this arc is d-lat, or the angle what it forms in the center. Here, both the latitudes have the same name. So d-lat between both of them, as I said, is the arc between the two, is this here. And the value what I have done is subtracted it. One was 50, one was 30. So the remaining arc is 20 degrees. So d-lat is arc of the meridian or angle at the center contained between these two parallel of latitudes. And we just saw that if the latitudes had the same name, we subtract it. Same name, subtract. So this is the latitude of A, north, minus the latitude of B. So that's your d-lat. But the direction of the d-lat is important, as we talked about it in d-long. It's always from to, from which place to which place you are going. If you are going from A to B, if you are coming from A towards B, you're going south. So your d-lat would be 20 degrees south. And if you are going from B to A, you're going towards north. So your d-lat would be 20 degrees north. And all points, irrespective of what meridian they are, what longitude they are, the d-lat would be the same as 20 degrees. Which way? Depending upon which way you are going from to. And this arc, I'm just trying to show you that this arc will remain same throughout, irrespective of what meridian you are in. It will make the same arc and the same angle at the center of the earth. So the d-lat between two parallel latitudes would remain the same. I'm taking up two latitudes in different hemispheres. A, parallel south, and you define it as the angle at the center of the earth or arc of the meridian. So taken as 50 degrees south. And this is your parallel of latitude 50 degrees south. Another place I have taken as B here on parallel latitude L1, L2, north. Defined again the same thing, angle at the center or arc of the equator, and the latitude is 20 degrees north. The difference in latitude here, the names of the latitudes are different. One is north, one is south. As we said, it is the arc between the two parallel of latitudes. So the arc between the two parallel of latitudes would be from here 50 degrees to 20 degrees. That means the total arc will be 70 degrees or angle will be 70. So your d-lat is 70 degrees d-lat. Now here again we added it up because from A or B, wherever you're going, you're crossing the equator, you're coming to 0. From 20, 0 and then another 50, or from 50, 0 and 20. So total would be 70 degrees. So when you have different names, latitude of A plus latitude of B. So when the names of the latitudes alternate or different names, you add. And d-lat between all the points on these two latitudes will remain the same as 70 degrees. Now the direction will again, as we said, will depend upon which way you are going, from A to B or B to A. If you are going from A to B, you are heading north, so your D lat would be north. If you're going A to B, your D lat is north. And if you are coming from B to A, you are coming south, D lat would be south. And as I said that they will remain the same, this arc is going to show it to you that this arc will remain the same between any meridian or any longitude the other 2 points are. It will maintain the same arc or this angle at the center of the earth. So 2 points on anywhere on two different latitudes will have the same D lat. Now this is just last time we talked about that how to understand it, and this is again I'm just explaining it to you only for explanation. This topic I'll be covering up once we get down to Mercator sailing. This is, suppose you are looking at the Earth from top of North Pole. This is how it will look to you. All the meridians coming and converging at North Pole, and the parallel of latitudes being circles. Equator being the biggest circle would be with the maximum radius, and other circles small circles, something like this. Now, little imagination on your part, though we'll be talking about it again when we talk about Mercator sailing. Is like, let us try to rip open the Earth, try to make it flat instead of being when it is a sphere. Let us just flatten it up, and let me pull it out from 180 degrees here. Try to pull it out from 180 and try to make it flat. So once I pull it up here, something like this, my meridians will stretch up. A little imagination on your side, and this is the equator. And once you start opening it up from 180 degrees, your equator will come something like this. Now that you're opening it up from there, 180, and all your small circles, which are your latitudes, would appear something like this. And then this is just a procedure that I'm just trying to open it up. And once I open it up completely, my longitude should still be going and meeting at the equator, at the pole, and my meridians would look something like this. Will be converging to the pole, and all my circles, which is the equator and the small circles as parallel latitudes. Equator will look like a straight line here, and other circles would also come as straight lines. So your latitudes would appear as straight lines, whereas your meridians would still be going towards the pole. And when you have unrolled it, so latitudes will appear as a straight line to you, and your equator will be a perfect straight line. Which, as I said, we'll be discussing this in little bit more in detail when we talk about it in Makeda sailing. But for now, just to understand what is D lat and D long, as I said last time, let us make them straight. And when you make them straight, what effect the straightening of longitude has on latitudes, we'll discuss when we talk about Mercator projection. Though here I'm just trying to show you all equidistant, which is not a fact. In chart, it looks different. But to understand what is D lat and D long, I have made the latitudes running east and west, and longitudes running straight north and south. So let us just see what is the D lat if one latitude is 80 north, B is 60. Let us go from A to B. Which way am I going? The names are the same name, subtract 20 degrees. I am going from 80 to 60. I am going south. My D lat would be 20 degrees south. Similarly, if I just reversed it, I went from A to B, B to A. So I'm going from 60 to 60 to 80. I'm going like this. I'm going north. So my D lat would become 20 degrees north. I just changed names, one north, one south, alternate names we add, and I'm going from A to B. I'm going south. My D lat would be 80 south. If I go the other way around from B to A, I'm going north, and my D lat would be 80 degrees north. So I'll leave you here, and we'll talk about nautical miles, and then we'll discuss how to convert all this. As of now, we know that all these are angular distances. So we'll discuss about how you convert them into linear distances. Thank you till then. Meet you with the next topic.